First off, I'd like to thank my wife, Brenda. It's quite a thing after 42 years when your wife invests your life savings in your defense. She's courageous. I couldn't ask for a better life partner. She's just reaffirmed why I love her, and she's stayed by me. The woman to my left is Jennifer Leffler, my defense attorney. We met on December 21st. The first day she said, "You're innocent, and I will prove it," and she was good to her word. I'd like to thank her team, her assistant Mary Herbert, her assistant Brooks Graham, and her partner Jonathan Phillips. They've become like my legal family. We've literally worked hundreds of hours on this case. I've been down to their office. I actually have a little office down there. I fully read the grand jury transcript down there, with the exception of the case involving the superintendent, because even though I'm suspended as public information officer, that would be a violation of personnel law, and I don't want to do that. So one thing I want to stress right out front, I've been working since 1973. This is the first extended time I've had off since then. I recommend every 50 years or so you take a little time for yourself. Part of my daily routine is I have an abandoned church that's a half hour from my house. I hike up there every day and I meditate and pray and reflect. And as I thought about this, one thing I thought was, I'm not going to put any more quarters in the outrage machine. I'm not going to make incendiary statements. I'm not going to give counterpoints to political views, because that's what's got our community here and our nation here, and I just don't want to be a part of it. I really feel like I can put things behind me. I don't know what my future will be. My future is day to day. Right now, my wife and I are going to go to dinner. I'm going to watch the Yankees game tonight. That's as far ahead as I've thought. So I've learned to take things one day at a time. I was a workaholic, I'll admit that. And for a workaholic, it's like having withdrawal when you have 6 months off. So I haven't figured that whole thing out. So my future's unclear, but today I can't say I'm really happy because I expected this. Jennifer made sure this happened. She assured me every step of the way. And I felt confident in this. I felt confident in Judge Fleming. I felt confident watching the jury that they were going to reach an impartial and fair verdict. And really, as far as like happiness or elation, no. I feel relieved, obviously. And now I'll take a few questions.
Are you going to get paid for the money when you were on unpaid leave? Have they agreed? Are you going back to work? Are you going to get paid?
I haven't talked to anybody from LCPS since my suspension, so I don't know.
What kind of financial hardship? It's been like since December. That
Well,
would be like about 8-9 months of no
the
pay.
thing about my wife, she had a very difficult upbringing and she was homeless for a while. So she knows how to survive. If you're going to marry somebody, marry a survivor. She knew how to do like really emergency budgeting. She's always kept me in line financially because I'm not a financial genius. She is. She put us on a savings plan earlier. She kept our debt low. She figured out December 12th, the day I was suspended, we sat down for about 2 or 3 hours, made out a detailed financial plan, what we could afford, what we couldn't. As it turned out, too, she took consulting work on the side now because she's retired, early Social Security, and we were able to make it through without really any hardcore financial hardship. That's all her.
Wade, there's been high emotions in this case. What do you want to say to people who maybe wanted a different outcome to bridge everyone together at this point?
I'd say really, again, stop feeding quarters into the outrage machine. Think a minute before you say something. Don't react emotionally. Like I said, when I go up to the church, there's a pavilion there. I have some animal buddies who come with me, a half-blind dog who sniffs you every 10 feet to make sure it's still you. And I sat there and I reflected and I thought, if you say incendiary things, what's going to happen? Nothing good. If you express yourself emotionally, your emotions are going to rule you. If you take the time to think through, consider other people's viewpoints, they're not wrong, they're just different. And just think before you talk and act.
Wade,
I don't know. We got a family birthday party actually that we're going to go to right after this. I'm going to watch the Yankees. I'm going to take tomorrow off because I need to sleep. We haven't slept for the last 3 nights while the trial's been going on, so I don't want to make a decision when I'm tired. I'm going to talk to people next week. People have talked to me after they've been witnesses here. You know, still cordial. LCPS is still my work family, has been for 23 years, so we'll talk about that later. Yes,
Wade,
sir.
Ms. Leffler in closing today kind of referred to you as what she characterized as like the fall guy from the special grand jury's investigation. Did you feel like a fall guy throughout this?
I prefer the term surrogate. I've been the surrogate when people have come to LCPS for years to do some kind of speaking. So I feel like maybe I was a stand-in for other LCPS employees who could have met this fate. There were a lot of people who appeared before the grand jury, people who were higher ranked than I was. The day I left the administration building, I told my colleagues that if it had to be somebody, it might as well be me, because this is something that I've done for years, to be a spokesman, to be out front, to learn how to take the heat, things like this. And I felt that I was equipped to do it. So I wouldn't say scapegoat, surrogate maybe, stand-in, but no, I didn't feel like I was a fall guy. I didn't feel like I was a victim.
Having seen your testimony be scrutinized the way it was, do you feel as good about how you answered the questions now as you did?
Okay, for people appearing before a grand jury, I have a suggestion. You either learn three-word phrases, I don't know, I forget, and I can't recall. If you say that, you'll be fine. Jennifer was absolutely right. I was trying, after 14 months, to recreate things. Division Counsel Bob Falcone, when I got the subpoena, first of all, was surprised. Second of all, he said, pull your emails from May 28th and June 1st and see what they said. And nowhere in there did it say sexual assault. What I meant when I testified to the grand jury, to me, having done your job and having been in this job for a long time, you have rumor, you have hearsay, you have opinion, and then you have fact. When a charge is levied by a law enforcement agency, you have fact. Then it becomes an allegation. And that was really my thought at the time, was when we have official confirmation, and Michelle Bowman was on the stand, we had no communication at all. The protocol was, when they did a charge, they sent it over to me about a half hour before to vet the press release. We would know we'd do a joint release. And that release never came on the July 8th arrest. If it had come then, we would have put it out. So my maybe overly rigid way of thinking was that when you have a charge, then you really have an allegation.
And given the fact that it was, the first assault was random and that they had consensual sex 2 weeks earlier and it was an arranged meeting in the bathroom, was your feeling when you went in there that at that time that it wasn't a sexual assault, it was an alleged sexual assault, or you just weren't sure? Because you did say something about girlfriend sideways comment to the grand jury.
So I'm not that deep a thinker like you are, Evan. I'm sorry. What I thought that day was, first of all, it was the Friday before Memorial Day. We had about 6 emergency messages that day. It was very frantic. What exactly Tim Flynn said, I'm not going to say that Tim Flynn said something wrong or incorrect or had a different memory than I did. I don't know. What stuck in my brain was that this was some kind of boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. The APs were back in an office with the SRO trying to sort it out. And then Mr. Smith showed up and there was a disturbance, and that was the immediate problem. We had 4 cruisers outside the school. We had a confrontation out there. We had students texting out to their parents from the library saying there was something going on. So my immediate thought was, what is the immediate known situation right now? And that's what I did. And maybe I forgot things that Tim said to me. I'm not saying, I have nothing against Timothy Flynn. There's no conflict between us. We've been friends for years. We might have just remembered things differently. And so I'm not looking to place blame on anybody.
So Wade,
Okay. Go ahead, Nick.
so did Dr. Flynn tell you there was a sexual assault? Did he tell you there was a rape?
I really can't recall. See, I've read, now in the last 6 months, I've read about 3,000 pages of transcript. Since the October 6th incident, I've talked with dozens of people about this. It all kind of flows into your brain. Can I pick out a day, like 14 months ago, and say exactly what happened? No. That was my honest recollection at the time, was he said something about boyfriend, girlfriend. He wasn't sure, they were sorting it out. And I want to emphasize too, I have nothing against Scott Smith. Absolutely nothing. I read through his testimony to the grand jury. He's had some difficulties in life. I empathize with anybody who's having difficulties with life. I wish him and his family nothing but peace and well-being. I hope they find the peace that's eluded them.
Why did
Wade.
you ask Dr. Flynn why the parent was upset?
I didn't. From my recollection, I didn't.
But you don't remember why you didn't?
I don't remember why I didn't. I can't remember why I didn't have a conversation. I know it was very hurried because, again, we had several incidents going on. I think we had one at Briar Woods at the same time. It was unusual, but in the 23 years I've done this, there have been so much that's been unusual. Pulling bits and pieces out is really hard.
The idea of it being a boy-girl thing, the way Tim Flynn found out about it was the girl did come to his office and say she was raped.
See, that wasn't in evidence at that time. So, you know, I'm not going to say anything about Dr. Flynn's recollection because we may have remembered things differently and, as far as we're concerned, both accurately. So I have nothing against Tim Flynn or say anything about his memory because I really don't know. I can't put myself in his place or inside his thought process. And I told the grand jury that I didn't know. And looking back, if I said, I don't know, I can't recall, I don't remember, things might have gone much easier.
Wade, after the
Drew first and then Nick, we'll do it.
after the Yankees game tonight, after your birthday party and dinner, and you start to think about what's next, do you think that you can go back into your job and do it effectively for the community after everything that's happened?
I don't know. And I want to talk to my colleagues about that. The last thing I want to be is distraction. I want to be an asset and not a distraction. So we're going to have to talk about that. I'm going to have to gauge their feeling. I'm going to have to see what's been done in my absence, if there's a hole I can fill or need that I can fulfill, if there's a skill set that I can contribute. I don't want to be a burden to LCPS because they've been my home for 23 years. I've loved my work family from Dr. Hattrick to Dr. Smith now. They've been nothing but great to me. So I want to reciprocate. If I can help them, sure. If we can find a place, sure. If not, we'll see. But that's for the future. I don't want to think about that right now. It's just too far out.
Side, do you think that this verdict reflects that Loudoun County is sort of acquitted from wrongdoing over the rape handling, or what's your verdict on how they could have done things differently?
I'm just going to stick with my verdict. I might talk to the administration later about things I saw in the grand jury testimony. One thing I think was very true in the grand jury testimony on page 18, the final report, was this was a multi-agency failure. And I don't want to point fingers at other people, but there were several points along the way where things could have been done differently. If there's a positive to come from this, maybe we could all get together, map out what went wrong, put some protocols in the future that would prevent this from happening again. I think that's hopefully be a positive outcome. But beyond my own verdict, I'm not going to speculate.
Wade, do you?
Okay, well, Nick had a question back. Nick?
Okay. So our viewers, this community has heard about the allegations against you,
Yeah.
how you allegedly lied to the special grand jury. They've heard about how in May that the prosecution said that you got a phone call from Dr. Flynn and he told you, wait, this is bad. He said that he told him everything, that there was a sexual assault, and then you told the special grand jury allegedly that you didn't know anything until October. So what do you want to tell people who have heard these details of this case? Because people might think, did he lie? Didn't he lie? What do you want to say?
I want to say I think the jury reached the right verdict in this, and I put my fate in the hands of my fellow citizens. I think they reached a fair verdict, and I hope people would respect that verdict. I hope they wouldn't keep legislating it in the court of public opinion. The court of law has spoken, and that should be the only court that counts.
Wade, this issue with Loudoun County became a front and center issue in the governor's race when Glenn Youngkin was elected. One of his first acts in office was to authorize the investigation into Loudoun County schools. Do you see a political dimension to your own prosecution?
I'll go back to not putting quarters in the outrage machine. If I say, it's all political, if I take a stance, that'll just get somebody else to do a piece of political performance art and say, oh, no, and people will get all crazy. I don't want to spin anybody up. I don't want to add to what's already a tense situation. I'd like people to respect the verdict. Obviously, I feel happy with it. I have no animosity towards Theo Stamos. If you look at some of our grand jury testimony, we went at it. I mean, I won't deny that. Theo and I did not get along at first. Let's just put it that way. But I respect her. She's doing her job. I hold no ill will against her. I hold no ill will against Jason Faw. I hold no will against anybody, really. It's just, I'm happy that this day has been reached.
In terms of putting this all behind us, is your view that the Loudoun County Public Schools should release the Blankenship and Keith internal report?
It's not my decision. I'm not going to comment on a decision I can't make. That's way above my pay grade.
If you had to do this over again, would you do it the same way as the grand jury?
I would have.
Would you do more like what was left for
I would have had a lawyer as good as Jennifer Leffler to begin with, and I would have listened to her. I would have said, I don't know, I can't recall, I don't remember.
I
If
wouldn't
I'd
have
said
given
that.
you that advice if you knew the answer.
Well, thank you, ma'am.
So I assume that you had a decision to make if you wanted to take a stand or not in your defense. What led to you choosing not to, maybe, and did you want to share your side of the story?
I'll let my attorney talk to that.
He testified before the grand jury. We felt it was truthful testimony. We knew the jury was going to see that, so we didn't see why we would put him on the stand to reiterate what he at the time thought was truthful.